All right, cool. Now have you used Zoom before?
Just a tiny little bit.
They've got some pretty cool. They've got like you can set your own background.
I was trying to do that.
Did you see that?
Yeah, but for some reason, on the other laptop, it works really well, and on the phone, it works really well.
Right.
And for some reason, on my laptop, here I'll show you. It gets so fuzzy. Uh, so I even had one all picked out that I thought would be cool, but this is what it looks like.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So I'm like a ghost or something.
Right, 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 right. It doesn't work on my end here because of the fish tank won't take it.
Here, let me get the regular one back there. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, we're this is not like, I got into the podcast stuff because since I broke my neck, like my hobbies were all like, you know, snowboarding and fishing and when I say fishing, like, people think I'm like sitting on a bank somewhere with a fishing pole in my hand and a bobber. Like I'm fishing for like the apex predator. I'm fishing for like a 48-inch, thing with teeth in its mouth and everything else.
Well, I've seen the picture of the one that's like, I don't know, look like 3 feet long.
Yeah, yeah, it's like 47-inch or 40 whatever, but it's muskies or northern, like things that are up in like Minnesota and Wisconsin and stuff, and it's like it's hard to explain. It's a skill game. I and it's an exercise in mental focus. So like you're gonna come in contact with this fish one time in a 10-hour day, and if you're not totally mentally focused on what you're doing, it's gonna be blown. You'll be fucked. So, like, it's an awesome break if you're, my job before I broke my neck, I had 5 or 6 guys working for me. We're doing construction. It's make hay when the sun shines. So we're working 80 hours a week sometimes. It can be stressful, right? You got homeowners, you got, everything else. Everything went pretty smooth, but your mind is like, I didn't sleep. I'd be in the middle of the night, like working through problems as to what I was gonna, build this or frame this or set up the scaffold for whatever was going on. And so to go do something where you have to like completely break off mentally, focus 100% of your attention on this thing, it's a good break. Like you come back refreshed, ready to do the job again. So it's how I rolled. But when I broke my neck, people are like, "Why don't you still fish?" And I'm like, "Well, be kind of like kissing my sister, right?" Like, I mean, I did it
Yeah.
at such a high level. Like I used to go to Canada 2 or 3 times a year, and one of the trips I'd go on, I was going with my father-in-law at the time, and the trip there's no muskies. There's northern pike, which are kind of like the retarded cousin. To use a bad terrible word, but the cousin of a muskie is a northern pike, but it's like it'll bite anything. It's not very hard to catch. We catch the one lake we went to. I think we caught 145 of them in like 5 hours. Like it was like stupid.
I don't think
Um,
they're really not edible, are they?
no, they are. I think they're wonderful too, as far as that goes. The the thing with the muskies is it takes so long to grow one. Um, like if you're in Southern Illinois where the growth season is long, it'll take 16 years to grow one to be 4 feet long.
Mm.
So and they're 100% in Illinois. They're 100% stocked fish. So if you take that fish out, you got to wait 16 years to grow another one that big. So
Oh,
we're
it's all catch
super
and release.
crazy careful with them. Like we got them, we put the net in the water, get the fish in the net. We cut the hooks, get the camera ready, take it out, pop, 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 take a picture. I lost one fish in all the years I fished, and I actually got in the water with the fish, swam below the thermocline so the water was cold again, tried to revive that fish to
Oh
get it to
man.
go. It didn't. I lost that fish. But I only lost one all those years. So we're going up to Canada, and my father-in-law at the time goes, "You're a serious fisherman. You'll catch 5 or 6 of these northern over 36 inches during the week." And I'm like, "Listen, I don't care. There's trees and rocks and eagles, and it'll be fun. I don't care what we're doing." And so we go up there. We were there for the first day, and it's like 3/4 of a day, and I had 5 in the first day. I caught 28 fish over 36 inches during the week. So like I was good at it. But I broke my neck. No more like, hardcore stuff. I realized that opening a bottle of wine and having like a really good conversation, I felt awesome afterwards. Like it's super cool to pretty much interview somebody, to learn something about what they know. Like people, I feel like a lot of people have conversations, but they're just waiting for their turn to talk.
Yeah.
But when I have a conversation, I'm really trying to learn something about the person that I'm having the conversation with. Now, I've talked to you before, and I've asked you what, like what you went to law school, you taught some law, and like all those are things that I remember from our conversations that we had. And those are things that I want to have. Like, those are things that, you can't take money with you, but the memories and the things that I got, I can have. So, I started doing the podcast about a year ago now,
Has
and
it been
started
that
listening
long?
to podcasts about 2.5 years ago, and I've had fun. It's just been fun to have conversations with people and, learn about what they're doing. And it's not even like you made a comment that I don't know what I can add. Dude, there's people, I think the general public, not talking about you because you're a pretty intelligent guy and like an intellectual kind of guy, but the general public's pretty dumb. But even if you can find a really dumb person that still knows something about something, like, whether they collect stamps or they collect, old money or coins, or they know some shit about that you would never know. There's people that read books on, every president that ever was, and they could tell you shit that there's no way I'm gonna know. So I like it. I like to hear. It's almost like cheating, right? I don't gotta read all the damn books, but I can get the cliff notes from the person. So so
Nothing wrong with
anyways,
that.
I'm sure that I'll have a no problem conversation with you. And like I said, this is not the way that I like to do it. I would much rather have a couple drinks and sit across the table from you and just have a conversation.
Well, this is the next best thing. This is
But
life in
right
quarantine.
now, it's the responsible thing to do too, because I'm seeing people. We were talking before the podcast. Um, I'm seeing people that are kind of doing whatever they want, and it's almost like frustrating to see that. Like we went out. I took the boys out to like a park by the Kankakee River down here, and this lady was like dead set she was gonna pet my dog, and I'm like, hey, any other time, fine, but just not now. First, you
Yeah.
look like a crackhead. Secondly, just don't touch my dog. It's fine. Do what you're gonna do. We're gonna do what we're gonna do. I want to keep that distance from you. I don't want to do this thing where I'm not doing the right thing. But I think that, so you're in the city. You're in Chicago. How are people doing up there? Are they taking it serious?
Not. I think they're already over it. So they're already way more comfortable with this. When it first came on, or the first shelter at home started,
Yeah.
um, people were really they were paranoid about being within arm's length of each other, which is probably a good thing.
Right.
Uh, but I've noticed really in this last week, it's it's such a lazy, laissez-faire attitude towards it because I think everyone watches what's going on in New York, and New York
Yep.
is this world away, and
Right.
really it's for all intents and purposes, it's no different. Um, the overall, there's less traffic, the trains are a little less crowded, but just yesterday, I was coming back from work, and we were like a block off the lake, so I was going past the park, which is right by the lake, which was all supposed to be closed. There were 2 dozen
Right.
people there. They're playing pickup ball, they're throwing a
Sure.
frisbee, they were everywhere. It's like you couldn't tell that we're supposed to be in quarantine.
Right. Which is not, yeah, that's how we're going to end up being New York. I mean, that's going to be the problem. And I mean, I was pretty impressed with the mayor and even the governor. And I'm no big fan of Pritzker. Like they, like trading one billionaire for another one was not what I wanted to do, as far as the governor went.
No,
Uh,
I think he's doing a good job.
I do, and it's up to the people now to take it seriously. I was taking it seriously really before it broke real bad. I called my son and I was like, "Hey, you guys we're headed to Iowa to go look at some schools." And I was like juggling it. I'm like, "All right, should we go?" And I looked at Iowa. Iowa had like all of 3 confirmed cases in the entire state, and none in the counties we were going to. So I'm like, "All right, if we don't go now, there's no way. We're not getting 3 weeks from now. It's going to be a complete mess." So we booked. We went out there right then. But when I called him, I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, Mom knows that we're heading out by you, and we're probably going to be by you for a little bit. So, we're going to go out to dinner with her and her boyfriend." And I go, "Oh no, no, that's exactly not it. Like, you're not going to go to a place where everybody's there coughing and everything's going on your food. Besides that, someone's preparing your food and you don't know what's going on there." Like, I go, "That's insane. What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, okay, fine. I'll talk to Mom, but you're right. We won't do that. But I got to pick Cameron up, their sister, at the airport tomorrow." I'm like, "What the? Are you going to get on a cruise next? What the hell are you going to do?" Like, it's just one bad choice after another one. And this is what people are doing. I saw people on social media that heard about the shutdown that Illinois was doing. They jumped on a plane immediately to get the fuck out of here.
Well, right when it was just starting out, I was my spring break was scheduled from school,
Sure.
and so Kelly took some PTO, and we were trying to figure out what to do, and then this was right when first couple of cases in Illinois. I mean, we had our first one fairly early, but it kind of died down, and but it already started hitting the airlines and the hotels. So she's like, "Oh, look, we can fly to California for $200 round trip."
Right,
And
right, right.
I'm like, "You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me to get onto a, as soon as the first case we heard about it, even when it was still just in China.
Right.
Do you want to be the guy that's stuck on that cruise ship for 3 weeks or 4 weeks?"
The cruise ship thing. Well, dude, I don't ever want to be on a cruise ship to begin with. Like, that's not a thing that I would ever want to. Like, I mean, that sounds like my worst nightmare. I just
Yeah.
think of everyone on a cruise as like some old couple that's like, no, thanks. I'm good. I don't want to be stuck in a boat with you. Besides that, yes, it's insane how infectious it is. Like, they're on there and there's 100 people on the damn cruise ship that got it. Like, it's like, and then they do these reports that it's like they've got 100 confirmed cases on the ship and 250 other people that have symptoms. They must have run out of tests.
Absolutely.
Right. So I mean, all they know is they got the 100, and then, but they probably got 1,000 because it's just so transmittable compared to the flu, which
And you have the asymptomatic carriers. So, of those people who test
right,
clean,
right,
well, they think they're fine. They go out in the world, and so they're 3 weeks where they're contagious, but they're not limiting themselves, and that's why the exposure rate is so high. You know,
right. Well, I mean, and then you just think about what people do. People are, you know, I like to have my conversations with people, but people in general, I'm not a big fan. Like,
you and me both, brother.
I mean, I don't think I go anywhere where I'm not aggravated by people, right? If I go to a Sox game, someone's going to aggravate me in 15 minutes. I'm sure of it. Someone's going to do some dumb shit. Someone's going to spit their gum on the ground, like some dumb shit that they're going to do. That I'm like, man, it's like you're living on this planet by yourself. Uh, so I'm not a big fan of people to begin with, but and like I'm pretty damn healthy. I'm not worried about this this coronavirus killing me. But I would feel terrible if I gave it to somebody and then they gave it to somebody and then killed somebody else. Like, that's not what I want. Um, Besides the economic factor, this is April. This is like when I make money. And I got one listing sitting here that hasn't got taken off yet. and I got a couple buyers and stuff, and I can't do shit with them because we're not obviously not going to go to people's houses right now.
Right.
Which I see some agents that are, and hey, everyone's got to make their own choices, however they want to do. I want this over with, so I want to do my part. So I mean, we got a freezer here, two of them. We were loaded. I'm always prepared for a little bit of something, but loaded with food. I haven't bought any toilet paper since this thing started, which that was a crazy one to me. Like I thought, I don't know, we live in a weird, weird world where that's an important thing. Like you can wipe your ass with a goddamn rag and wash the fucker. I mean, people are buying hundreds of rolls of toilet paper. It doesn't make it. That's not. I wouldn't even waste a cart space on that. Like that would not be food, dude. Would be what I would get.
Well,
Um,
interesting thing is, when people really, when it was Black Friday everywhere for toilet paper and all
right.
that shit, they did. I was reading something. It was about a week after really the first wave. The amount of food waste, because people go in and they buy like 40 loaves of bread. What are you going to do
Right.
with it?
No.
A week later, it's all bad.
Right.
We already throw away like, what is it, 40, 45% of the food we buy, we throw out anyways.
Yeah, which I don't know who's doing that because I'm telling you, man, that is not. I don't know. Like, everybody operates differently. With the two wrestlers in the house, I cook. Well, I'm sure you cook a ton too, dude. The stuff that I cook, I like to have good food. I make food that tastes good. I don't throw it the fuck away. Like I eat it as leftovers. Like I plan out what we're doing. Like I don't know. I don't throw away shit. There's hardly the only thing that ever goes out of here. Is fruit because fruit's like hit or miss, right? I
If it's
mean,
not really good, you just let it sit there and rot.
yeah, because it tastes like shit.
Yeah.
And fruit's. There's a lot of times it's crap. I mean, I had a peach tree at my last place, and eating the peaches off that tree, you realize how shitty fruit is from the store. It's like, holy shit. You bite into it and you got like just peach juice all up. I'm like, oh my God, look at this like wet, sweet, beautiful piece of fruit. Problem is you got fruit for about like 3 weeks and then it's over, right? But they're harvesting it before it's ripe, so it's still hard, so it won't bruise, and then hoping it ripens in the store. It never does. I've bitten into a nectarine before. I'm like, cardboard has more flavor than this nectarine does. So that's the only thing that ever hits the garbage can around here. So I don't know why people do that. And I mean, we freeze bread. It don't taste as good, but I'm not gonna throw it out. Uh, but anyways, so and then the other thing, like I see people, I got my hair cut. My son cut my hair.
Yeah, I think I saw something about that. It doesn't
Yeah,
look bad.
not too bad. I mean, I'm not upset about it, but I see
Well,
people online that are looking to, get their hair cut by somebody, and I'm like, I don't know if we don't really do this. Do you believe? So I got two takes on the China thing, right? China's got like 5, new cases today or some goofy
they're
number.
underreporting like crazy.
Yeah, okay, so well, there's my two cases. Either they're underreporting like crazy, or they locked that shit down and said, "We'll shoot you if you come out." And people lock themselves in their houses and they haven't come out. I don't know which is which, but
I don't know that it's an either or. I would wager that it's probably a combination of both. They don't have the infringement on civil liberties issues that we do.
right, right,
Uh,
right.
you know, I think they're more prone to take orders from the powers that be. I think Americans in general, like, fuck you, we can, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah,
But if you look at the curve of their whole experience, you compare it to Italy, you compare it to other people who are ahead of us on the whole thing, and they just have this severe drop off. It's just not, they have to be underreporting, have to be.
right. Now, did you see? It was funny, but did you see the governors and mayors from Italy? The videos?
No,
Oh my God, man! So like, laugh my ass off. They're because Italians are animated, right? Stereotypes, typical Italians. There were mayors that were screaming. The one guy said calmly, he's like, "If you have a goddamn graduation party, I'm going to send the police over there with flamethrowers. You know, and then I'm like, holy shit, this is the mayor. The next guy, he was losing his shit. He's like, you motherfuckers, what you gonna have a goddamn fucking haircut for? Ain't nobody gonna see you. You're gonna die. You're gonna be in a casket. It's gonna be a closed casket. And I'm like, oh my God, look at you. And she's like, he's like, you're going to get your nails done. You're going to get your hair done. You get in the motherfucking house. And I'm like, holy shit.
I think we need a little bit of that, maybe.
Yeah, I'm hoping we don't get there. Is what I'm worried that we're going to get there. That's what's going to happen. We're going to be, we're going to have our little mayor and the governor screaming at us because no one's listening.
Well, that's like Governor Cuomo has really impressed me. I don't know anything about him. I don't know his politics.
Right.
Obviously we'll never vote for him one way or the other, but
right.
I
don't know.
You watch his
what?
You watch his press conference, and then you watch a Trump press conference.
Yep.
And it's one it's incredible leadership, and the other one is like, what did you just say?
Well, one is just the facts, and the other one is just a rambling mess of. I mean, when you got a guy talking about he just found out that he's number one on Facebook. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Did you see the press conference that Trump did with they drugged some guys out of the 50s from the military, and they're like, we're gonna send the Navy SEALs down for the narco shit. I'm like, what are we talking about? What the hell is going on? He was like deploying battleships to fight the cartels from drugs, and I'm like, I thought we were talking about the coronavirus. He did a half an hour of just the war on drugs.
Wow, I guess I don't know how, but I seem to wind up watching his press conference almost every day, and I usually get in about a third of the way in.
Right.
I just can't.
I tell you what, I kind of like him like that. Like, I think they should make him just let him talk all the time. Like, he just goes off saying things that like some of my favorite ones are like when he was talking about the wall. He's like, we're going to build such a tall wall. They'll never make a ladder that tall. And he even corrects himself like during it. He's like, well, maybe a rope. Like,
that was yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? They were talking about the disease vector in the model. And he's like, I don't know for models. Well, this kind of model. It's like,
because he's skids supermodels.
Yeah, the guy's such a dirtbag.
Oh, he's the biggest douchebag that ever lived. But to me, it's a caricature. It's almost like it's comedy gold.
I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite.
Oh, do you? I find it hysterical. I guess it's sort of Jerry Springer, where it's like a train wreck. I can't take my eyes off it, man.
Well, no, I agree with you, but I'm saying, like, from a comedy writer's perspective, you'd think like, oh, this is gold. But what can you do? What can you do that he hasn't already done?
Oh, no, right. No, you don't need a writer. He's doing it all. He's putting the writers out of business. Yeah, he's 100%. Yeah, he's doing the whole thing. What did he do though? People say things. I wish people wouldn't bullshit so much though. Like, there was some commentator on, and he's like, Trump looks like he's cracking underneath the pressure. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not even remotely cracking underneath the pressure. He's a psychopath. He's feeling zero pressure. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. He knows he's safe. There's no pressure. He doesn't care. He, without batting an eye, says 200 or 100,000 people are going to die. He's like, it's a big number. It's a really big number. He has no compassion for any of that. Nothing. Like, I mean, there's so many things that a politician could be talking about right now that would win him points that he's not. I mean, to be more worried about the economy than all these people dying, it's insanity. I mean, I don't understand how people who are supposed to be like evangelical Christians, I don't know what Bible they're reading. I just don't understand. Like, when they look at this guy, he seems like the antithesis of everything they're supposed to believe in every way. Like, I don't even, 3 baby mamas, raw dogs, porn stars, only cares about money. He's as vain and shallow as they get. Like, it to me, it's like, oh my God, you couldn't write a better character than this guy.
Yeah, it absolutely defies explanation or understanding. Like, these people who, in their minds, are really good Christians. Like, would you hold him up to, your boys are a little bit older. My daughter's 16. They're doing their own thing and forming their own opinions. They're getting to be
Right.
that age. But, would you want a young kid? Would you want to hold him up? You can be president one day. All you got to do is, bankrupt yourself a couple dozen times, screw everybody in business, and there you go.
Right. No, I don't get it. With my sons, like they've heard me talk about it a million times. I have them like, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. But I explain to them that living by a code, which has nothing to do with, you can make it religion if you want, but you can just make it that like, so the way I explain it to them, because I'm agnostic, right? I'm not an atheist. I'm not going to tell you there is no God, but you know, I haven't seen one, so like I'm gonna just go with when he pops up, I'm good, cool, man, that's great. There very well could be a deity. We very well could be just life forms that this is just a thing that happens in the universe, and it's all science.
Well,
Uh,
in theory, it shouldn't matter. If you live the right kind of life, then you should be
well,
fine.
my thing with my boys, I explained to them, I go, listen, if you're hedging everything on an afterlife, and you're being a good boy because some invisible man in the sky is watching you, that's a thing. That's a weird thing, but it's a thing. But if you're doing it because you only got one shot at this fucker, and you're going to leave a legacy behind, my situation is, listen, I want my sons to talk to their sons about me so much that their sons talk to their sons. I want to live forever that way. You know what I mean? That's my eternity of living forever. Um, where I don't know, like the whole religion thing, they're always hedging it on, i'm I'm going to go to this fantasy land later or something like that, so I get another, you got a whole other life then you're going to live, and it's going to be eternity, I guess. I don't know. I only got one
That's
shot,
the
so I'm going to
opiate
do
of
it.
the masses for a reason.
What's that?
Karl Marx called religion the opiate of the masses.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's like, how else do you convince, you know, so many people to go and fight and die in wars that they have no interest in? Uh,
Right.
because they believe that if they do the right thing, they're going somewhere else. Because if you didn't believe that, it would be real hard to convince, you know,
Right.
you know,
Life.
they'll be cannon fodder. I don't think
Right.
so.
Life is way too precious to blow it on some ideology or some nonsense. But so you were talking about Cuomo. I don't know, man. I think there might be a chance you might be voting for Cuomo.
It could be.
Have you seen? Now, okay, so I'm a Bernie guy.
Not this cycle.
Well, I don't know.
Are you thinking brokered convention?
I don't know what's going to happen here. Right? So I'm a Sanders guy. That was my guy, right? And
Me
I mean,
too.
I like worked in his campaign in 2016. I thought he was too old this time, but he was still the best person for the job. As far as the only guy that I felt was honest, the guy that he was getting, handcuffing himself to a radiator in the University of Chicago in the 60s, fighting segregation then. Like he's the real deal, right? He's the only one that's not just saying shit that they think is popular. I mean, here's a guy who is an old timer. He's 78 years old. He was for gay marriage before Pete Buttigieg, who's a gay guy who's married, was for gay marriage.
Yeah. Uh,
So the genuine article,
I,
right? But
I
it's all
agree. But when I thought about it, I mean, I've never been a fan of Hillary. I voted for her because,
me
you know,
too. Me too.
but, I was really, really excited about Bernie, and I wasn't surprised, but I was devastated. I think the DNC really, I think there was some dirty pool there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Why not?
but as I watched the Trump presidency turn into this huge dumpster fire,
Yep.
I'm sort of convinced that Bernie would have done the same thing to the left had he won, because, like you said, he is a man of his own conviction. He says whatever he's thinking,
Yep. Right.
and I think a Bernie administration would have been an entirely different brand of dumpster fire, but a dumpster fire all the same.
I think that it would have been an impossible rock to move because the system is set up with, all the senators and all the congressmen, they're all millionaires and billionaires. You're never going to get these people, no matter who president is, to do what you want them to do. I almost think that Sanders would have been a good counterbalance to those people where Donald Trump goes into office and he's a puppet. They just tell him what they want him to do and he's doing it. I mean, his tax plan was a complete sham as far as 85% of it going to the wealthy. He had no problem getting that passed, even with some Democrats voting for it because they're fucking rich too. So,
oh yeah, well,
I think that'd be the difference between the Trump presidency and the Sanders presidency is Sanders would have been a hard slog to get anything done, where Trump had 2 full years of full control of the Senate and the House and got nothing done. But either way, that's not really not my angle anyway. I know Sanders is out. That's fine. But I've been watching
I did not want him running this cycle.
No. I think that they hosed him. I mean, come on. Biden couldn't win a state. He was polling at like a couple percent, and all of a sudden he's this monstrous front runner. There's some shit going on there too. But either way, the DNC is a private club. There's nothing in our Constitution that says that they have to run a primary. They could just pick a nominee and say, this is the guy we're running, vote for him or not. They try and put this show on so that we feel like we're involved in democracy, but they can pick their party leader. It's their party. But
well, there's pledge delegates. I mean, it depends. However, the convention runs, there are some people are pledge delegates where at least like the first couple of ballots, they are, they're obliged to support whoever they've been assigned to. So, if Biden wins X amount of pledge delegates out of the state of Texas, and they run the first ballot at the convention, they're required. They don't have that choice. But
well, what I was saying was more structural. Like if the DNC decided in the next presidential election to change the rules, they could just make it that we're going to pick the nominee. We're not going to do a primary. Right. So I mean, it's a private club. It's not something like our Constitution wasn't based on there was only supposed to be 2 parties. There was more parties at one time than there are right now. We've got this system now, which is broken. But either way, here's my problem that I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. So, like, I was a Sanders guy because of the ideas. When I look at single-payer healthcare, it's a program that will make healthcare cost less, be more efficient. And when someone gets a cold, they won't go, well, I can't take a day off work and spend $85 to go to that. It's paid for. You'll do preemptive care instead of letting shit go until you're bad off. This coronavirus is one of those things. I guarantee you there's people out there that are like, it's the flu, it'll pass. And while they're saying that, they're giving it to everybody. Where if they were to go in right away in socialized medicine, it wouldn't be that way. So I look at Sanders as having solutions. I don't care about socialism. I don't care about party. The U.S. pays almost 3 times as much as other first world countries do for healthcare, and our outcomes are not as good. We don't live as long. We're more obese. We don't do as well as they do in these other countries that have this single payer system. So for me, it's just a business choice. Make the right choice. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's actually as a business choice, and that's an interesting thing. The overhead, if you look at the administrative costs,
right?
People ask, okay, well, what Medicare, Medicaid, what do you think? The government-run bureaucracy. What's the overhead on that? And people say, 40% or more, but it's like 2%, 3%.
2.5, right? 2.5 is what I've heard. Right.
And, but then you go and you look at private insurance and, the overhead's like 30-40%. They're giving their CEOs $1 billion here,
right.
$1 billion here, $1 billion there. Sooner or later, you're talking about money.
Right. Well, yeah, right. I think right away you're talking real money when you're talking about $1 billion. But so that's another story where I'm in Canada and I'm in a boat. I was going to the same lodge for years, and there was a guy, I think I was like 26, he was like 23, and he was the guide. He was not really a guide, but a guy driving the boat. He grew up on the lake. He knew the lake. I started having beers with him after we were fishing all day and everything else. Got to know him pretty good. Was supposed to go snowboarding with him in the Canadian Rockies. He said he had an uncle that had a place up there. I couldn't go. We got a bunch of work. I had to stay home. He went. He shattered the living shit out of his arm snowboarding. He calls me like a couple months later, says, "Oh man, I did this." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. That's terrible." And he goes, "Yeah, it totally sucks. I got pins in there. I got to go for these surgeries, all this other shit." I get off the phone with the guy and I'm thinking to myself, this is a 22-year-old guy that makes like $400 a week. How in the world? I didn't know that Canada had the system that they had. I thought they were just like, America Junior. So I'm like, how's this guy? He's going to be bankrupt. How's he going to pay for all this stuff to go on? So the trip was in wintertime. I don't go to Canada till September. He calls me up about 3 weeks before we're going up. He goes, "I got the last surgery done, cast is off, everything's good." He goes, "I'm going to start guiding again the week before you guys get there, so I'll be there to guide you." Awesome, terrific. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Get in the boat with them. When you stand in a boat with somebody for 8 or 10 hours a day, you talk about everything because
Sure.
this is what you're doing. So about an hour or so goes by. I'm like, "All right, man, you got to fill me in." All this, he was showing me the scars on his arm and everything else. All this stuff went on. How are you going to pay for all the bills? And he goes, "What bills?" And I go, like you got to have $80,000 worth of bills for this arm that you broke. And he's like, "I don't have any bills." And I'm like, "How do you not have any bills? Like you were snowboarding, you were all on your own, you weren't on a job." And he's like, "We have socialized medicine in this country." And dude, like I'm 26 years old. I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" So I'm like, he explains it. And I go, "So wait a minute. You broke your arm. They took you off the mountain, flew you somewhere because your arm was like compound fractured like a couple times, set pins, did all this shit in your arm, all these surgeries, everything else. You got drugs, you did all this therapy and everything else, and you didn't pay anything?" He goes, "I didn't pay anything, nothing." I'm like, I'm almost pissed now. I'm in the boat and I'm like, how could this be? I know people that had like, their appendix burst or some goofy shit happened to them and they're like bankrupt. They can't afford shit anymore. Someone got cancer and lost their house. These people worked their entire life, lost their home. Makes no sense to me.
And those are people with insurance.
But right, because they met the top, and then they're right. Then the insurance is covered anymore. And then if you get cancer twice, you're totally fucked because they won't cover it the second time because you had a pre-existing condition.
Uh-huh.
So anyways, he explains all this to me, and I'm stewing. I'm like, all right. I'm like, this. How could this be? I'm like, so okay, wait. Is it like Switzerland? Do you get taxed like 90% of your money go to the government? He goes, "No, we get taxed about 3% more than you." This fucking kid, I was embarrassed. He knew more about this system, the whole healthcare system than I had ever even thought about it before. And I mean, I was a general contractor, dude. I had like guys that I had workman's comp insurance. Like I had health insurance for my guys. I was buying it. So like I should know more than this kid. And he's like, we pay about 3% more. And he goes, every job that's in the healthcare industry and the insurance industry, we still do. So all those people that have jobs in your industry, they still got to, there's still an adjuster, there's still an underwriter, there's still all these jobs that happen, but you don't, you just don't have the CEOs. You just don't have the guy making $39 million a year in profits because it's not a for-profit business. And also, when the hospital says the nurse came in, she had a little cup, there were 2 aspirins in there, that's $18. The single payer looks at the hospital and goes, "Oh, fuck no, it's $3."
Yep. Oh,
They've got all the strength in the world to negotiate price.
like when Congress passes a law forbidding Medicare and Medicaid from negotiating drug prices,
Mm-hmm.
tell me how that benefits anyone except the insurance company.
Well, then that's their donors, right? That's who's backing the thing. Those are all reasons that I'm a Sanders guy, right? Like this is a guy who's been a senator for years and years and years, and he was, the first time he ran, he was worth like 380 million or $380,000. That was his net worth. I had a bigger net worth than the guy running for president. That's a U.S. senator. So I was almost on the fence with, all right, dude, what do you do with your money? Like, what's going on here? How come you don't have any money? But then his wife wrote that bestseller book, and the guy's worth like $4 million now, or whatever he's worth. And there are Republicans like saying he's a millionaire.
It's only a dirty word when it applies to him.
Right. So, but that being gone, my problem is this, and you consider you would label yourself a Democrat?
Yes and no.
Okay. But
by default, because they're they're the closest thing to what I want, what I'm looking for.
When we had 6 candidates running, we had say Andrew Yang was the third. Well, Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know why she hung around so long.
I don't know what the hell she was doing there.
No, but so you get the 6 or 7 at the end that were there. Was Biden your first choice?
No.
Oh God, I know. Right.
I had a feeling from jump that we were going to end up where we are. I wish I liked Warren more than I do, and I don't know why, but if you like Bernie, you can like her, and if you like her, you can like Bernie. But I would have gladly supported Warren.
Well, I would have too, but at the end, she kind of, I think she was being controlled by the DNC. She never endorsed Sanders ever.
I know that.
I mean,
that and they have an issue because he's never been. I mean, it's odd for a guy who's never been a member of a party to seek that party's nomination for president.
I like that about him, though. That was a bonus for me.
Yeah, and I guess to the degree that Bernie's a Democrat, I'm a Democrat in the same way.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I definitely never voted for a Republican for president, but probably somewhere along the line, I may have voted Republican, probably voting against the Democrat because I just dislike them that much.
I voted for George W. Bush the first time out.
So did my wife, and I still tease her about it.
I mean, I did. I looked at the 2 of them, and at that time, what is that? 16 years ago, I'm like 26 years old or something like that. And Al Gore's just blah 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 about the environment and all this other shit. And I got a guy talking about business, and I'm a goddamn business owner. I'm like, he makes more sense. So I voted that way. I have never considered myself a Republican or a Democrat or any of that stuff. I really just want to know what are the ideas, right? What are what that kind of thing. Let me lay out where, and I mean, I have people that goof around with me and call me the Trump whisperer because I have lots of Trump supporters on my.
Yeah, I've noticed.
That's right. So, and some of them are just fines. I'm telling you, I just find them. They're counterproductive to their own task because you see the shit they say. It's fucking crazy. I mean, just like so detached from reality that anybody who's a sane independent looks at that and goes, well, I obviously can't be on that side because there's that guy. So I keep them around for that reason. They're harmless. You've read some of the stuff they write. They're dolts. I mean, they're not intelligent people.
They are so willing to believe like these deep, dark conspiracy, deep state this, Hillary's running a child porn ring out of a pizzeria that doesn't have a basement.
Tom Hanks is running that ring now.
Oh, is he? It's him? Okay.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. I saw that one. I'm like, oh my God, this is so juicy. Holy shit. Yeah, Tom Hanks and his wife, they don't really have the coronavirus. It's part of the pedophile ring. I know, it's fucking insane.
There's a person we both know, and I'm not. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but she's very anti-vax.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I was willing to kind of put some of that aside and be like, well, you're wrong, but
No, you're wrong.
I'm not going to engage you on that because, you know, they have their own reasons for believing what they, you know, it was ill-informed, but I know why.
Right.
But then the same person, Bill Gates, gave a series of interviews, you know, 5 years ago. This is probably right around SARS or the Ebola scare, you know, where he said, you know, America is completely unprepared. You know, it's not a matter of if we're going to get hit with a 1918 level
Yeah.
pandemic,
Right.
but
Right.
when.
Yes.
And you know, and he goes on. You know, I like Bill Gates, hate Bill Gates. So, you know, dude's pretty smart. You
Yeah. No. Maybe. Do you know why anyone? Why does anyone hate Bill Gates?
know,
Just because he's not a
I think
Republican?
they quite, you know, he was a very tough businessman, and I think people resented, you know, maybe it was the romantic notion of Apple versus Microsoft or something like that.
Okay.
That he was so, you know, he was the richest man in the world by
Sure.
far,
Yeah.
um, and and Windows has such a stranglehold. I don't really know. I don't know because he never really did, you know, outside of the business world where he was cutthroat. You know, he's always been very philanthropic.
Oh
You
my
know,
God. Like massively. Well, okay.
he started this whole movement of, you know, Warren Buffett, him,
Giving
all
half your wealth or whatever away, sort
give
of
it away.
deal. Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
and not ironically, but interestingly, you know, everyone looks at Steve Jobs as, you know, he's the white hat and Bill Gates is the black hat.
Yeah.
Jobs is screw, you know, fuck charity. I'm
Oh,
not,
right. No. Jobs was kind of a douchebag.
yeah, you know, but for some reason he had, you know, he was always the white hat when
Right.
everyone had Gates. But anyways, going back to kind of circle the square. So now people are saying, well, obviously Bill Gates is part of the conspiracy that is giving us this disease. And
Okay.
that's why he gave this interview. How else would he have known this 5 years ago? He was like warning us, like he's a Bond villain, and he has to explain to him before he kills him. You know, this is how my whole plan works.
Right. Yeah, right. Like he's gonna totally monologue the whole thing out for you. Uh, the other one. So that there's these posts. These are these just dumb people. Did you see the post that people were posting with the can of Lysol that said Corona on it? And they're like, if this is supposed to be a new disease, why does my 2-year-old can of Lysol say it kills Corona on it? And I'm like, oh my God. Do people post things without like ever reading? I'm positive that 80% of the people that I'm connected with on Facebook have never read a book.
Yeah. You know, and I have narrowed my, I mean, especially since in the last month or so, I found social media to be even worse than before.
Yes.
People are getting mean. People are getting stupid
Right.
or
Right.
dumber. I don't think stupider is a word, but it should be. Uh, you know, and I've really, but before that, I just started throwing all these people overboard. You know, and that's why I'm always amazed. And I think I give you shit about it from time to time. You know, a lot of these people that, you know, post, and I know you're always trying to poke the bear. You do everything you can to provoke these people into
I'll
doing this.
tell you what though. No, okay, so in defense of I'm here in Mantino and I've got a good set of maybe like 5 or 6 people that I consider friends that are Trump supporters. And as people go, it almost boggles the mind. It's like, how do you listen to that guy, hear what he says, and then be who you are? Like you almost think that you should equate the way that guy is to the way these people must feel, or there must be some racism inside them or something like that. Karl, I'm telling you, there's a couple of them that would give you the shirt off their back. They're the nicest people that I know. Like the one lady, she's a mom from wrestling. She's genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. And she is like not just a Trump supporter, they've got like 6 foot tall by 12 foot wide banners in their front yard for Trump. Their kids were dressed up as Donald Trump with chains on Hillary Clinton, and like just it's over the top.
Have
Trump
you
support.
had the conversation with her? To
They
explain why?
don't. No, they don't want to engage me in that conversation, which I don't know why. Because I would never, in my wildest dream, like, listen, it's America. You can have whatever view you want to. I would say I'm more concerned when someone is completely detached from reality. Like I'm like, but he's on video saying this. The one that always gets me is the one that I'll have Trump supporters that will post 3 or 4 articles claiming that Donald Trump did not mock a handicapped reporter.
Jeez.
Right. And if there's a video of him doing it, and there's nothing in the video that would lead you to anything else except for exactly what he's doing. He says verbatim, like this is not slanted, this is nothing. He's like, and then this reporter, I'm talking to him, and he's like, and you got to see this guy. He's like, and he does the classic, can't, like he does everything that the 13-year-old little jackass in school does. And they firmly believe, because of some article, that some guy sat down probably high on meth. It took him 8 hours to figure out an angle why this guy didn't do that. And he wrote it out, and they believe it. And it's like, wow, there's a real weird disconnect in this. So those things bother me. And then they know me, I'll never let it go. So like, if I'm right, then I'll talk about it. If I don't know if there's a topic and I don't know anything about it, no one's sucking me into that conversation. Like I'm not.
The less people know about something, it seems the more inclined they are to have an opinion on it.
Except right. Well, that's a golden rule for me. I won't do. If I don't know, if you see me pick a fight on social media, it's because I just got done reading 3 different articles about that exact thing. I'm well versed on it and ready. So here we go. This is what I'm doing. This is going to be fun for me.
And I know that's what you do. I think we've talked about it where I've asked you. I mean, I've asked you probably a dozen times, half a dozen times. Why do you engage with these people? And I know it's sport for you.
You know what? Okay, so I was a guy who used to say something at work all the time. Like I always felt like if I didn't get tackled or a wrestling match or get punched a couple times in a month, I felt like something was off. I'm like, all right, come on. So like we'd be at work and I'm like, come on, let's go. And we'd get a little wrestling match on and get a little, a couple forearms in there or something like that, just to rough up somebody a little bit. I am no longer in a position where I can get into a scuffle with anybody. So that's my mental sparring, is to do that. And
that's odd because like in high school, you were never a fighter.
Oh.
Like at parties and stuff, I don't remember you. I mean, we went to a lot of parties together. I don't ever remember you getting in it.
You know what, Karl? I would say most of the parties I was at when you were there, they were like some girl's house, and I was trying to be on my very, very best behavior. But no, if you ask around, no. There was a fight that I had in the front yard of Heisner's house, and people still are like, oh my God, that fight. The guy I was fighting was on acid.
Oh, Jesus.
I knocked him down like 5 times with clean, like, boom, shots. He goes down, and he just jumps back up again. I'm like, oh, shit, look at you. Yes, no. He jumped right back up, and he come flying at me, and I'm like, whap, and he goes right back down again and right back up again. I'm like, holy shit. Come on, my best buddy was Danny Shanahan.
He's
can't,
the toughest man alive.
Huh?
Dan is he's the toughest man alive. I mean,
toughest guy.
He's a sweetheart guy. We politically we don't see very eye to eye.
Oh no, he hates me for it, but I love the guy. He is one of the toughest guys, or probably the toughest guy I've ever met in my life. He got hit in the head with a pipe one time, and then came back and beat the shit out of the guy after getting in the head with the pipe. Yeah, he was always fun. That's all we did. was go looking for fights. I was sitting in a hospital bed with a couple guys around me when I broke my neck, and the one guy goes, "Man, why does this have to happen to you? You're a good guy." And I'm like, I got a halo, the whole thing. I got like a, trach with the air in there and everything else. I'm like, yeah, I'm a good guy. And the other guy on the other side of the bed goes, "Good guy. How many fights you been in?" And I'm like, "Hey," and he's like, "Let's start counting some of the more memorable ones." And yeah, so we went off on. I think we got to like somewhere around 50 or so. Uh, I
Did you ever come to any of my parties in high school?
I believe I did.
Because Ezell and Brian Phillips were sort of, they were like my in-house bouncers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, sure.
Every single one. But the event in my house was, 'cause I had a dog. It's like I had most of the parties in the winter because that's when my parents would go on vacation or whatever.
Sure.
But every spring when the snow would melt, I'd go and I'd walk my dog in the front yard and I'd find like class rings, car keys, like all this shit from all the fights that happened in the front yard.
Right, 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 right.
Every time.
I want to say like in high school, you were definitely a different, like I don't want to say a polar opposite, but it definitely like you were like an intellectual guy. You were a guy driving like a vintage Mustang and stuff like that. And I was a guy like, running around just doing dumb shit and like, driving a piece of shit Impala. So like, just a different, sort of setup. But no, I mean, you can't, hanging out with Shanahan, that's all we did was every single year in school, I got to fight in school.
Really? See,
Yeah.
I totally believe you. It's just.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, I don't. I honestly, I'm glad that was your impression because I was never a guy that would talk about it. Like that was not my. Nowadays, when people talk about it from way back when, I have yet to be to a reunion yet where someone has come up to me and tell me that I was a bully.
Really?
Yep. And I had a guy at our 20 year that I showed up there, and he was a big dude, and he's like, "I was definitely afraid of you," and I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, you never did anything to me, but you were just scary with the mohawk," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And he goes, "No," he goes, you I think you one time said something like "ugh" at me, and I like jumped against the wall, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like what the hell?" And then I've had girls that write me messages on social media that were like, you were just so intimidating, always like hair on fire, doing crazy shit. And I'm like, I wasn't trying to, be a pain in anyone's ass, but I was.
Mm.
But anyways,
Yeah.
but my thing was I was never a guy.
You didn't do it for sport.
No,
Yeah.
well,
Maybe you did. I don't know.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. I mean, if it was 10:30 and there was no girls, it was it was time to get it on, some other way. But and like I said, you can't hang around with Shanahan and not. I mean, during the night drinking with Danny, you're probably gonna fight him once or twice.
Oh Jesus! Now that's bravery. Like
No, I mean,
going toe
Danny,
to toe with Dan. I mean, there's only one person I've ever met in my entire life that I think is tougher. Well, you remember Pete Chow, right?
no. Oh, wait,
Pete
no.
Chow, like Larry Cluse and Pete, tall blonde kid.
Yeah, I remember Larry Cluse, but
Okay, well, Pete was doesn't matter, but we used to play in a dart team in the city, and me and Pete. But there was this guy Irish Tom, and he was from Ireland. He was actually built a little bit like Danny, but he was a stonemason his whole life.
oh wow, right.
And he's the guy like someone literally broke a bottle of Jack over his head, and he just laughs at him. He's like gushing blood. He just laughs at him, and it's like,
Sure.
oh boy, you're in trouble. No,
Right, 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 right,
you get
right.
one shot.
Right.
No,
But
but
no,
Danny
so
turned out to be a very nice guy. Very
yeah,
not
for
not
me
who
it
I
was
thought he was.
it was for kicks, and I think that I didn't care about taking damage when people hit me, where you'd hit a lot, I'd hit a lot of guys, and then they'd want to quit. And then, my thing was always, well, you don't get to quit now. You get to quit, when I say you get to quit. But so,
So
like it never bothered us.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so now you've stayed generally in the same geographic area more or less.
Yeah,
From
I'm further south now than I've been.
yeah, but the sort of, and I think you have more overlap in your social circle with people you run into than I do.
Absolutely.
Um, how many? I mean, is there a disproportionate amount of like sort of Trumpian people that we went to high school with than in the general population? Because like where I'm at, I don't know. I don't think I have a friend in the entire city of Chicago who doesn't loathe Trump.
Oh, loathe him. Yeah, loathe him, not love him, right?
No, loathe, hate.
Loathe.
Like,
Right, right. Okay. So I would say that the majority of people that I know don't don't like Trump. They're not, but it's probably a slim majority. Um, Being that I'm in Mantino, like I got a neighbor that's got the Trump flags flying in his
okay.
yard. Uh, he spends all day, dude. If you were to draw a caricature of a Trump supporter, it'd be this guy. He rides around in his tractor all day long. He spends any time that he's not on his tractor, literally in his shed where he has a TV with Fox News on it. There's an American flag on one side of his shed and a Trump flag on the other side of his shed. So like he's in his little bunker of like weirdness, and that's what he does. So
So
there's
what
that
does he
guy.
what does he do if Trump loses?
Well, I think he gets his guns and they try and figure out about the irregularities that Trump's going to say that there were in the voting and stuff. Like I think he's ready to join the militia. Um,
Do you think that's possible? I mean, are these people?
I think that they're going to get smashed, but I do think that they think that these people firmly. So there's a problem with anything that gets a narrative, right? This narrative that Democrats in Chicago, all these dead people vote and all this other, that's all just jokes. That's not real. Like there aren't dead people that are voting. There's, I mean, I almost when I talk to people who believe that there's in-person voter fraud, I question whether they vote or not. Because if you understood the process, it's not that possible to do what you're saying. First off, and then second off, there's no reward. If one guy goes in and the votes three different times, or could possibly do that, which you can't, you're talking about three votes in 140 million votes. Like, what are we talking about? Like, that's not changing an election.
No, no, and yeah, you're going to commit a felony to.
Well, that's
And
the big one, right? That's the illegal aliens. What was Trump? 3 to 5 million illegal. So there's people that are illegally in this country, and what they're risking is to go vote to get kicked out of the country. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
I've had over the years, I've known more than a couple illegal, and aside from being like the nicest and really like crazy hardworking,
yes,
even if they had a political opinion, they're not going to go within 10 feet of the polling booth.
no, no.
They're not going to risk going to jail for that shit.
Could you imagine? Could you? So most of these people are salt of the earth, right? They are hardworking. They don't have a PhD. They don't speak a second language. Most of them only speak Spanish, the ones coming from Mexico. Can you imagine if you only spoke English, you had maybe an eighth grade education, but you had a family with three kids, you packed up the wife, everything that was important to you, and went to a country where you couldn't speak the language?
No,
No, I couldn't even imagine trying to take that on. And they managed.
but I can imagine I can imagine doing it under the circumstances which forced them to do it. I
Yes.
just can't imagine what it would, I can't imagine actually, what it would take.
Well, right? Imagine what those circumstances would have to be to make you do that.
Yeah.
And then you've got these people in this country that they're so positive that that's a bad situation. Remember the asinine analogy that one there was like a Republican politician made with the jar of Skittles when the refugees were coming in, and he said, "You got this jar of Skittles, and two or three of them in there are poisonous. Would you feed them to your kids?" I'm like, first off, people aren't fucking Skittles, you asshole. Secondly, if you do the crime rate among those people, it's much lower than it is among people here. Like it's literally like one in a couple thousand ends up being a criminal. So that's bullshit to begin with. But those are the same people that are posting the we're doing all this because there's you know, a virus out there that has a 97% recovery rate. That's 3 out of 100 are poisonous, you asshole. That's that's worse than the Skittles. I can't
forgot.
put my finger on what your problem is, but I think it's racist.
Well, what do they say? If you support Trump, it doesn't make you a racist to support Trump, but if you are a racist, you probably do.
Right. Well, I phrased it a little different. Like, what is it? While all Republicans aren't racist, all racists are Republicans.
Right. Well, I think there's a few libertarians thrown in there.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Because that's just a Republican who thinks he's smart. Right? I mean, think about it. Every libertarian I've ever run into has got this like whole thing that he says that sounds all smart, and then the end he says taxation is theft. I'm like, oh, you're an idiot.
Well, it's amazing. Like all of those people who were constitutional scholars during the Kavanaugh hearing,
Yes.
are now immuno specialists. They're doctors.
Yeah, they're infectious disease specialists now.
They went from clerking for for the Supreme Court to the gig at the CDC.
Right. So I mean, and I like, okay, so I do have friends that are, and we have conversations that are pretty good. I would like to actually get more. When I sit down with my Trump supporter friends and we don't talk about the candidates or the people, we just talk about topics and different issues, you'd be surprised how much we agree on issues as long as they're not core issues like the guns thing, right? You're never going to get the everybody needs a gun guy to do anything except like there's never going to be any middle ground with that guy on guns. But if you start talking about economics or you start talking about the fact that the single payer healthcare system is cheaper, the one that drives me nuts at the healthcare system is every time Sanders says something like it costs half as much to do this, you get better outcomes, all this other stuff, they always go, well, how are you going to pay for it? And I'm like, listen, healthcare happens right now anyway, and we're paying for it.
We're paying way too much.
Right, he's saying we're going to pay for half of it now. What part of half of it is not working out for you? This is cheaper than doing it the way we're doing it. So why are you asking who's going to pay for it? We're all paying for it right now.
And I have good insurance. I think you probably have some good insurance. So, we're paying for it.
Yep.
And but still, we've got through my wife's work, we've got like a gold package or the Cadillac or whatever. People call it a different thing. It's really, really great insurance.
Sure.
It's just about as good of a package as you can reasonably expect to have.
Right.
And I was in the hospital last year for a week, and again with this whole insurance, they're still coming at thousands and thousands of dollars above and beyond.
Sure.
I had met my deductible. Our insurance was up to date, all this stuff, and there's still thousands of dollars. Kelly was in the hospital 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting one. So, I got a thing in the mail where the insurance company is saying I owe them $120 because the doctor I went to that was in their program, their license has lapsed or something, and that they're prohibited from paying out to people who aren't board certified or whatever at the moment of treatment. So now I have to pay them because they sent me to a doctor, they paid a doctor, and the doctors had some licensing issues. So now I have to pay what they paid him, plus I had a copay that I paid him, but he can keep the money. So he's already been.
Right. Well, so here's some of my issues with Donald Trump. To me, he's not the problem. Donald Trump is the festering boil that's created by the problem, right? Like he's the symptom of the problem. When I have to stop having my conversation with the Trump supporter when they say, what was I going to do? Vote for Hillary. And I'm like, well, okay, listen, I myself, I did vote for Hillary. I believe still that Hillary would have done a better job than this bozo did. Now, but I do understand that if I was a Fox News watcher and I was a guy that considered myself a Republican, you couldn't get me to vote for Hillary if you had a gun to my head. She was literally the most hated person. You couldn't pick a more hated person on, I don't know of one. Do you know of a more hated person the Republicans would hate? They hated her more than they
They
hated.
really disliked Obama because he was just, well, because he was black, and that was, that's his original sin. But I mean,
I like when they tell me they don't like him because he's arrogant.
but they like Trump. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand why people dislike Hillary. I was never a big fan.
She's
Uh,
got some horrific. She's got some horrific things even on our side that you look at the way she voted, and I'm like, holy shit. I mean,
she's
the
got some
super
bad.
predator stuff, the Iraq war, like she's got some bad things that she did.
Well, she was a junior Republican. She was like in the Gold Rider camp when she
Right,
was,
right.
before she married Bubba.
And I mean, Goldwater, that's as Republican as you can get.
Yeah,
That's like that's like Ayn Rand conservative nonsense, right? So okay, but here's my issue. You've got there's a problem, and there's a reason why the people that voted for Trump because they thought he would blow up the system, I'm cool with them. The system needs blowing up. There's a problem in our system, the way this system is. So I understand that. And when they say to me, Hillary was establishment, she would have never blown up the system, I almost agree with them. Now I'm like, all right, hey, man, you're right. You're 100% right. So I totally understand why they did that. Now, we're going to go to the 2020 election, and you're going to run Joe Biden, who on a hot mic got caught telling donors, don't worry, millionaires and billionaires, nothing is fundamentally going to change. If you're an independent who thinks that things need to change, how do you vote for Joe Biden when he already said things aren't going to change? And second off, you've got a guy who, let's just brush aside the fact that he can't find his shoes and he forgot how his shirt worked last week because he's got a little dementia going on. There's some funny stuff happening there. But brush that aside. He's as establishment as you get.
mm-hmm.
He's not going to change anything. There's nothing on his platform that I look at and go, well, that's a big win there, or anything like that. And he's pretty much Hillary 2.0 because he's got all these bogus conspiracy theories around him with the Ukraine, his Hunter Biden son. Now listen, why the fuck can't this fucking kid who's got every break in the goddamn world just get a regular fucking job? Like, he's got a lot of problems. So that's where I get to the Cuomo. What if a month and a half from now, Biden can't remember his own fucking name and they got to go to Plan B? I say get Cuomo and have him run.
Well, he's got to be the highest profile Democrat that was not running for president.
This is the problem. Why would you do that? I mean, go get a Andrew Yang, go get a Warren, go get somebody who's not there's guys walking around saying I'd rather be with the Russians than Democrats. Why would you get the most marquee Democrat that you could get? And then
Maybe he's a VP nod because
what?
Maybe he's a VP potential.
Who?
Cuomo.
Oh no, I don't care about that.
Well, just
Biden
because
can pick once. I hope he picks a woman.
Biden, either one of them is a one-term guy. There's no way Biden can keep it together for a year.
Ooh, yeah. Listen, I think that with everything going on, if you just had a capable candidate that could not be, the dementia thing is worrying, man. Like it's a concern. How are you going to have a debate with a guy who can't remember anything? He did not do well in the debates with Democrats, and they're being nice to him. They're like my friend Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you think Trump's going to be nice to him, whoo, you got another thing coming. That ain't going to happen. So, like, yeah,
I noticed that Joe did better when he was playing a little rough.
I saw a couple interviews just recently, and he did a little bit better. But I saw one on Deadline White House with Nicole Wallace, and it was 15 minutes long, and I was at the end of it going, "Oh no!" He kept
Yeah.
stuttering and stopping, and like he would say something, and then he's like, "I don't mean that," and I'm like, "Oh fuck!" He didn't take his pills. I don't know what the fuck happened, but there was a problem. And I'm like, if this is deteriorating, if this is going downhill, 6 months from now, you could be in big trouble. Because if you're someone who has pledged no loyalty to a Democratic Party, you're an independent. The other guy's on the TV riffing away, man. He at least sounds like he knows what the fuck he's saying.
Well, no, I think we've sort of become accustomed to his rambling.
Right.
I mean, you got a couple of septuagenarians out there who are just batshit, and I don't know. That's why I wish.
I mean, Mayor Pete would have handed, I think, Trump his ass. Well, Mayor Pete's big problem would have been the black vote because I don't know, what, like my insight on that is the black guys are not going to vote for the gay guy. That's just not going to happen. Hate to say it, I mean, but it's just the truth.
Well, no, it's not the black guy; it's the black women, because the black women are you can't be a successful national Democrat without having the black women of America in your corner, because they're
Well,
the ones they vote. They're, they toe the line. They're it, and and they love Biden, and I don't understand why.
right,
Bernie's been a civil rights leader. He, in theory, if I was a black man, I would look at Biden and compare him to Bernie, be like, well, here's a guy, like you said, in the 60s. This is a guy, he's getting clobbered in the head because he's marching for civil rights. He's doing
right,
all that and he's doing it. Well, he wasn't saying this to be president. It's just who he was.
right. And I mean, and then on the flip side of that, Biden was working with separatists. He was working with Strom Thurmond. He was working with KKK guys. Like this is not a civil rights guy in any stretch of the imagination. So like I don't get it, but whatever. I'll be holding my nose and voting for Biden. My problem is this: it doesn't matter who I'm going to vote for. It really doesn't matter who you're going to vote for. We were going to vote for the Democratic candidate that was going to be running against Trump anyway. It's that independent voter who's like, listen, I don't have a loyalty to either party. I'm going to vote, or the casual person, right? The person who's like, doesn't pay attention to it the way we do. He's not going to pay attention until 2 months before the presidential thing comes. And then you've got a bunch of side by sides where Joe is fumbling around and can't find stuff. And they're like, well, no, I can't vote for. And then all the built in nonsense conspiracy theories. There are people that believed that Hillary Clinton was running a child sex ring out of the basement of a pizza place.
And just for the record, that pizza place has no basement.
Has no basement. Well, you know what happened? The guy got shot in there because the guy came in there with a gun and said, "Where's the basement?" He goes, "We don't have a basement," and he shot the fucking guy. This is insanity.
Well, and more important, more important than that guy who could vote either way, that unicorn that is a swing voter. I think the bigger issue is turnout. The guy who, well, you know what, if I don't like Trump, but it's hard to get out of bed for Biden.
There's
but if
no
he's in
right.
Wisconsin, he's in Michigan, a non-vote is a vote.
Right. Sure. Well, that was the thing with, I was doing answering phones for Sanders. The dude was filling stadiums. Hillary Clinton couldn't fill a junior high gymnasium, and somehow she became the candidate. It seemed like something funny was going on. And I mean, I'm a skeptic on most everything, right? So I'm not a conspiracy guy. But when I see Eric Conkle went down to the University of Illinois, or I don't know where he went, but he couldn't even get in. He was posting pictures of him in line, and the line was like 3 blocks long to get into a stadium that the guy filled, and Eric had got turned away. Hillary couldn't did it. They show her crowds, and she had nobody. Like it was insane. So the enthusiasm thing drives me nuts. My thing is that Me and you are going to vote for Biden, right?
Yes. I'm going to hold
But
my nose and do what,
yeah, right,
I'm
right.
gonna
But
close my eyes and think England.
right. But if Sanders was running, I'd be working in his campaign again. I wouldn't just be voting for him. I would be trying to get other people to vote for him. Like you need to have that thing going on. So it scares me that on one hand, it scares me. On the other hand, if Trump gets reelected, who do you get after that? It's got to be, they've got to run a progressive after that.
I don't know. Maybe you got Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, and of the younger crowd, what is it? The mayor of Atlanta, she's pretty awesome.
Why isn't the governor of California running?
I don't know.
He's a good-looking young man that's got a bunch of great ideas as far as stuff goes. Gavin, what Gavin Newsom or whatever his name is,
Yeah, that sounds right.
something
I
like
was
that.
thinking Gavin McLeod, but he was the captain of the Love Boat.
Right. But so I mean, there's candidates out there. I just don't understand why they're not. Love vote. Why they're not running? It just doesn't make any sense to me. How we ended up with what's Trump 74 and Biden 78?
Mm-hmm.
Like what the hell is going on with that stuff? But I don't know. And I feel like. Go ahead.
In the beginning, when we had, what, 14, 15 Democrats running for president, maybe a few more, depending on how you counted what running means. It was amazing. I sat there and I looked at the panel, and I mean, with the exception of Bernie, but I think, 2016 Bernie is now 2020 Bernie in my mind.
Yeah, right.
But Bernie aside, look at all of this, and I'm just like, I don't really like any of you.
No, I'll tell you what. When Sanders said he was going to run again, my first reaction was, no, come on. Why isn't there somebody that's 30 years younger that's got the same platform? The guy's platform makes sense. Why isn't that happening? But it just wasn't. I don't know. And I mean, the Tulsi Gabbard thing, the water got muddy on her. Like she did things that were like that made no sense. The whole abstaining from voting on impeachment. Like, what are you doing? Why? How could you do that? And then I was fine with her going on Fox News. I think you have to go on Fox News.
I agree. You go where the people are.
Right. You need to talk to people. And I mean, it didn't hurt that she was attractive. You have this situation where I couldn't have picked a worse candidate than Hillary. She's not. There's no sex appeal there at all. I mean, she might as well be, a hermaphrodite. Like she might as well be a asexual human being because nobody's attracted to her. She's got that cackle of a laugh. She's got a whole mess of bad stuff. She's connected in all the wrong ways. It was all bad. And then I'll tell you what, I don't think that the American public in general wants dynasties. Like, I don't want to ever vote for another Bush. I don't ever want to vote for another Clinton. I don't, well, I shouldn't say that. The Trump supporters are wearing shirts that are talking about Donald Jr. and you've seen that nonsense shirt, right, where they've got it running all the way to 2034 and the little gunner.
Yeah, all the way down to Barron. He's the little
Barron.
kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, hey, don't you find it funny that you do remember Donald Trump had his press secretary, John Barron?
I don't remember. He's gone through so many.
Oh, no. This is like in the late '80s.
Yeah. When it was him, and he was
him. Yeah. He was
okay.
John Barron, right? Then he named his kid Barron.
He named his kid after a false persona of himself. Did you get a junior for that? I'm not sure.
So awesome, man. So awesome. But so I think that the mayor and governor of Illinois are doing awesome, and the statistics are Chicago is the third most populated city in the country. Illinois is the fourth or fifth most populated state in the country, and I think right now we're running ninth in cases of coronavirus. and we're a northern one. Fauci yesterday said that he does expect some relief when summer gets here, as far as that stuff goes.
Well, Michigan's going to get hit hard.
Yeah,
Detroit is already.
Detroit's going to be bad, right? Now you have I've never been to Detroit. You've got a lot. The wife's family's from there, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what is when we say from Detroit, they're from the outside suburbs. They're not from Detroit, right?
Where Kelly grew up, if you go half a block, she's in the city proper. So she grew up in sort of the equivalent of like Beverly or Evanston, like right on the edge. Like, you could hit a 9-iron into Detroit.
Right.
Proper.
But the white neighborhood.
Once upon a time.
Okay, all right. Because I mean, Beverly's still pretty white.
Yeah, where she is, when, they bought that house in, I think the year she was born, it's like 1976, and I think it was, it's all post-war construction. I think it was mostly white auto workers, and it's probably.
What's the the auto workers? What's the demographic of like the people themselves? Like, not the demographic, but like is it like a real blue collar? Like, I mean, Trump won Michigan last time, right?
Yeah, and she had, I know a lot of people there. Most of the people, I know, I have a lot of friends here that grew up in Michigan and they left, and they tend to be the more liberal. But there's a disproportionate amount of, otherwise reasonable people, and Trump has a lot of supporters there. And a lot of people, I think a lot of it is the hangover of hating Hillary so much.
Yes, right. I
don't think they like Brock because I think a lot of them, I don't want to call them racist, but,
But if they're not racist, they're racist adjacent.
Yes.
So it's okay. So
I heard that. I like that.
This is another one of my issues with Biden. Like, I like Joe. I think Joe's a sweet old man. I think he's got a very romantic story as far as he lost his family. His son died of cancer, all that. But this is what's going to be portrayed in the campaign for Trump. First, Joe's a pedophile. It's bullshit. But Joe's just this sweet old man who's a little handsy, right? Like, I've had that guy in my family that every time you see him, he's going to give you a neck rub. He's going to whisper something in your ear like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" It's sweet. It's innocent.
And creepy as fuck.
You know what? In a video and a photo, it goes miles. It's fucking terrible. It's what that photo of Al Franken is what fucked him, right? If there wasn't that photo, he should still be in office. He should be running for president right now.
I think, but for that, he would have run for president, and I think he would have taken the nomination.
Yes, but that photo is what does it in, because that's going to be everywhere with him with the hands on the almost, not even on her tits, just almost on her tits. They had him. They knew they had him, so they broke the photo out and said, "We got you." There
must have been more there, because that photo alone is not disqualifying, at least not anymore.
No. Well, this is pre-Trump. So we didn't know, but
I wish he would have hung in there, because I loved him.
Me too. And he would have been the guy who could fight fire with fire, because you're not going to get a quip on him. He's a fucking comedian. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to have you nailed in a debate. But the problem with Biden is.
1 second. I got to run out.
Yeah. No. I just paused the recording. But so Biden has dozens of photos and videos of creepy situations with young kids. It's just bad optics as far as that goes.
Right, he's the handsy uncle at the family reunion.
Right, but I honestly don't think he's not handsy because he's trying to like sexually cop a feel. He's just that guy, right? He's just the guy who's always got
He's
his
a hu-
hands on everybody. What?
he's a hugger.
No,
Just like
yes. Well, he's a little beyond that, but yes, he's a hugger. Uh, so like, it, I don't know. I'm just so nervous about the fact that that's going to be the way. But it
so. What's
almost,
your prediction?
oh yeah, I don't want to do. Well, I think Biden loses, which is terrible because the economy is going to be in a shit show. There's going to be, maybe. Well, I think the Trump administration is also doing a thing with this projection that's bullshit. I'm trying to do the math on what they're saying, and they're telling me that by the end of summer there's going to be 200,000 dead people, and I don't know how that's going to happen. New York seems to be turning a corner right now on it anyway, and that's the biggest problem in the country. Summer's coming. Unless somehow we're going to start losing 6,000 or 7,000 people a day, I don't know where we're going to get 200,000 people. I think they're setting the projection for them to look like victors when there's 80,000 people that die.
That's occurred to me.
Right.
No, but a lot of those are CDC numbers. Is that a cat?
Yes, I got a cat.
Yeah, I was hoping my cat would make an appearance, but
It's my guy Dash.
there you go. Yeah, I think you lower expectations and then you come out a hero.
Well, I don't know how I mean, with his supporters, he's going to come out a hero no matter what. So I think that's the angle because I don't think that they're going to have those kind of numbers. And it depends on how bad Biden looks. And if they do some debates where Biden can't hold his own, I think that there's people that just see this guy on TV and they don't realize the damage that he's doing. They don't, even with this coronavirus, they don't realize that if you started out with 30 cases instead of 3,000 cases, it's a whole different game because it's that, remember the shampoo commercial when we were kids? And she told a friend and she told a friend and so on. So that's what the coronavirus is, right? Because you're doing this tree. If it started out with a smaller segment, you get a smaller segment. I mean, it's drastically smaller. If he would have done a national shutdown, which he should have done a long time ago already, you get a smaller number too. So Trump can botch the shit out of this, but if he looks more competent than Biden does, I don't know. I'm worried about it. But then again, I'm not worried about it because it's going to have to take something. Okay, so we had a dinner party here with a group of like Laura Hartman and Lisa Henson, like a home at Jackie and a bunch of liberals, right? We just had a Friendsgiving kind of thing, right? We're all talking about liberal stuff. People were drinking, getting high, all whatever that liberals do, right? Talking about books and shit, right? Fucking,
but it's a Democrat. It's
right.
A liberal.
So anyways, and I said to him, they're like, so what do you think's going to happen, Bill? And I said, this is what's going to happen. And I told him, there's going to be a major crisis, whether it's a war, a terrorist attack, or a pandemic that happens. It's going to crash the economy. This guy's going to make a complete disaster out of this thing. And I think at the time, Stephen Colbert was running this goofy thing where he was like, what the world was going to be like after 4 years of Donald Trump. And it was like the apocalypse. It was over. Like, things, there were just rats in the streets. Everything was fucking awful. And I said, that's a possibility. And they're like, come on, that's hyperbole. And I'm like, it's not. This thing that we're doing is so fragile. And then you look at the economy for the growth that we had for as long as we had it. We were due for a downturn anyway. And the way Trump did it, Karl, I want to be more honest than anything. Trump did a magnificent job of propping this. He's a con man. He put toothpicks in it. He propped it all up. He gave corporations so much money back. They had money to inflate the stock market. It looked like the most wonderful thing in the world. And somebody went, and the fucking thing crashed. Like, I mean, the whole fucking house of cards just went. So It was all fake. It was all just nonsense. I mean, they're talking about we could have a 25% unemployment rate in like 3 weeks. Listen, if the economy was actually that strong, that wouldn't be possible. So it's a house of cards, and I don't know what'll happen.
Well, people conflate the stock market with the economy.
Oh,
And
that's complete. It's the same. It's the same correlation they make between a guy that's got money and he's smart.
listen,
No,
one does not equal the other. I
no.
mean, there's definitely super rich, very smart guys.
Hmm.
Definitely, they exist.
Absolutely.
Warren Buffett.
Right. Sure.
You know,
Sure.
you know, the,
Right.
the list goes on. There's a lot of self-made men and all that, but one does not. Trying to remember who it was that said, there are no poor people in America, just temporarily disgraced millionaires.
Yeah, but that was the.
I don't remember whose quote that is, but I mean that's how it is. Everyone believes that. Everyone believes they're going to die rich. Everyone believes that somehow magically they're going to, you know.
I got injured, and I totally do not even have that desire. I don't care. I do what I do for now, for today. Um, I do my job more for the things that I get to do in my job than the paycheck. I don't care. I really don't care about money. I used to care about money in another way. Before I broke my neck and I was a general contractor, I made a pretty nice living doing construction. I mean, I had 4, 5, 6 guys working for me. Every single one of those guys, I made money. Like I made the money that they make, I made also. You know what I mean? So like I made a lot of money. It was important to me that I was spending 3 weeks a year on fishing trips, another 2 weeks a year skiing or snowboarding. Like though that was the life I wanted to have. When I broke my neck and it took my health, I, I have a totally different. I would not trade the amount of time I've gotten to spend with my sons for any amount of money. There's no chance.
That's why when I was practicing law, I was doing really well, but I always hated it. I was never happy.
Right.
And then you know and I finally decided, okay, I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. Like go to I go. I start cooking school. I'm doing great. I'm having fun. I'm in the groove, and then boom, the world falls apart. So I'm like halfway through the semester, and school's over.
Right. Right. But what's the plan there?
Well, so I'm going to Washburn, which is a city college, and they've moved everything they can move to remote learning they have. And there's a certain component of what I'm doing that they can move to remote learning, but it's very small. They have no idea.
No,
You
with what
can't
you're
go to
doing,
cooking school without being in a kitchen.
yeah, but couldn't you still like socially distance yourself in a kitchen?
You know what? People are such, like whatever recipe we're working on, in the kitchen on any given day. You've got, there's 14 people in my section, but you got 14 sets of paws looking at the same,
Sure.
touching all the same vegetables. You're, the utensils, the pots, the pans, the stuff you use. I mean, is it washed every time it's used? Yeah. Is it washed well enough? I don't know. If people reach their hand in to grab this onion, are they getting something on the onion I'm going to grab next?
Right. Right. Right.
Just from a liability perspective, I don't think that it's feasible, at least for the time being. So I don't know what's going to happen, and it
Right.
sucks. It
No,
totally
it
sucks.
does. That totally sucks. It's I don't know. Like I was taking this seriously before a lot of people were taking it seriously. And the first thing that really made me stop was when the NHL and the NBA dropped their seasons. I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? That's billions of dollars. When a corporation that makes billions of dollars decides we're not going to make billions of dollars, like there's something big going on. And I mean, the other thing that we have to like, I don't know, you got to face the Trump supporters. Like you got to face the facts. The fact is, there are other countries that are handling this better than we are. There's other countries that are really. South Korea we trust South Korea. South Korea is not, it's not North Korea. We trust that they are not lying to us as far as that goes. And they shut shit down, and they had the best per capita testing and everything else. Like they've got their economy back running again, where we don't. And I'm not sure. I was asking about the demographics of Detroit because, or the you know, like the what the people are like, because if you took a city like New Orleans and you moved it to where Minneapolis is at, that would be ground zero. There would be death and mayhem there with this virus because it would be a cold climate, and you've got a bunch of bumpkins who don't believe this is anything but the flu.
You know, that's the Florida kids on spring break in Daytona.
Well, kids, you're never going to get it through to, right? I mean, you know,
Everyone's
they're, what's that?
Everyone's bulletproof when they're 18.
Right, you're bulletproof when you're 18. Besides that, you're not worried about syphilis. So you're certainly not worried about corona, right? I mean, like you're gonna figure that out later or whatever the hell. She's hot, dude. So like, you know, that's certainly not going to be a thing. And that's going to be even in Chicago. First I was like, all right, you know, I wish that we would get those like a nice, like unseasonably 79-degree day. But that happens, Chicago is going to bust loose with people. There's going to be people, forget it. You're not going to get those people inside because we don't get that weather all the time.
Well, you know, when they canceled the Southside Irish Parade, and I don't think any of us really understood. I mean, they understood before a lot of us understood how serious it was, and that was a great move. It was not a politically expedient move.
Right.
You know,
it was a much better move than even people think. They're claiming Louisiana's troubles are all from Mardi Gras.
I believe that.
Yeah. I've been to Mardi Gras. It is shoulder to shoulder. I mean, if one guy coughs and it's as aerosol as they say it is, you're infecting probably 5 or 6 people around you every time you cough.
And I believe that. And like you, I'm not a big fan of people. So the thought of being in that, like, the only thing I hate more than people are a bunch of drunk people in the same room. Because, you know, nothing good's going to happen.
So, okay, Mardi Gras, Dan Shanahan shows up at the house or at the apartment I'm in, and it's like, all right, where are we going? We had a bar that we were going to every night of the week except for one night a week we would take it off. And he goes, I want to get out of here and go somewhere warm. He goes, you got any money? I go, I got about $500. He had about $500. We got in his Toyota pickup truck. We spent 21 days in New Orleans.
Oh, Jesus. And lived to tell the tale.
Yes. And then Shanahan fell in love with a girl. Her name, I'll never forget her name. I can't remember the girl that I was with. Name, I think Nancy or something. I don't know. But he fell in love with a woman. We were like 22. She was like, the girls were like 30 in their 30s. And Dan was in love. So I fell asleep in the car. I woke up and we were in Atlanta. And we were driving to New York to see these girls. So we drove all the way up the East Coast, and we stayed in New York for a week. And then I was not in love. I had to get out of there. And I'm like, damn, we got to go home. And we stayed in Cleveland for another 3 or 4 days until his buddy's mom kicked us out. We were on the road for 35 days.
Wow.
Dude, I never drank so much in my life. I want to say I had withdrawal symptoms when we came back. It was serious alcohol.
No, that's not good, but I don't know. You know, seriously, I think these things through, and like you can be a logical person thinking, you know, through this one avenue, but everything else, like I am mentally preparing myself for November, and I don't expect good news. I just don't.
I hope so. I think that I have faith in the country that we will live through anything, that we'll make it through anything. So, and I actually think the worse that it gets, the better it'll get.
Well, you know, Lincoln said if this country is ever going to die, it's going to die by suicide.
Dude, I believe that. I just think that some of it has to get bad enough. If Trump wins re-election, then that says we live in a country that we had low unemployment, a fairly strong economy, and not a pandemic. Then 100,000 people died. The economy went to shit, and they still reelected the same guy. So, like, what kind of bad has to happen to get rid of a guy?
Well, we deserve it at that point.
Right.
Honestly, as a nation, if we do it, if we make the same mistake, fool me once, I mean, you voted for W the first time.
I did.
There are certain people who, I mean, especially because it was Hillary, I can sort of understand and maybe even forgive a little bit somebody who voted for Trump really as a protest vote, or really because I hated Hillary,
Mhm.
or any one of a number of reasons. They voted for him. They didn't think he was going to possibly win, but they wanted to take a stand. Same people who voted for Stein and the Green Party, they're making a statement by voting, not voting, by who they voted for. But anyone who voted for him twice, I could not forgive. I could not
Oh,
forgive
no.
making that mistake twice.
Right, right. I wasn't going to vote for W twice. There was no chance of that happening. Um, so okay, but like I don't know. Like I still the underlying problem is this: if Biden wins, he doesn't solve. You're not done. He doesn't solve any of the problems that created Trump in the first place.
It probably just makes it worse in some ways because now they have something to rally against. I mean,
Right.
now it's like, well, your guys right there. Who are you fighting against? You're
Right. I
staying in the
mean,
Supreme Court. You got McConnell in the Senate. You got Trump there. It's like you can only, Pelosi can only be so evil for so long. If you're not getting shit done, you got to look inward at some point.
you do for sure. You know what? There's certain fundamental things that have to change with our system, like the money in politics situation. Like that, there was a Harvard professor who his name was Lawrence. In 16, he ran as a single issue campaign, and his single issue was to get publicly funded elections. And he had a pretty much an economic plan for it that paid for it. It was a small tax on a Wall Street or Silicon Valley or something like that, but it was going to cost $7 per person in the country, and there would be no more campaign finance. So a corporation could not, there was no PACs, no nothing. It was purely publicly funded elections. And his claim was the country's got a lot of problems. If you just do this, you can solve all these other problems with this one key. Um, so like I see that as I believe what he said. So some of these other fundamental problems got to get solved before this happens. But if you're somebody who's in power in government, you don't want those strings cut. You want the money to be in politics because that's where you're getting that's where the corporations getting the power, and then that's where you're getting the money too. So like it's a you're in the game, so it's better for you.
Or if you took the money out of it, you'd actually have to have a good idea. You'd actually have to have substance. Um, you know, Negative campaign ads would be a thing of the past. Um, I would be all for it, but unfortunately, constitutionally, it can never happen. You would need, Citizens United sort of lock that up. I mean, you would need a constitutional, amendment to the Constitution to make that possible. Because
Right, right. But they're saying that Harvard professor was saying that that'd be an easier slog than trying to overturn Citizens United.
I agree. I agree that it would be easier to amend the Constitution at this point.
Right, right, right. So,
But I don't think there's a political appetite for it. I mean, when you look at the people who'd have to support it, they're the same people. They're the hogs of the Trump. So I
right.
mean,
Well, that's the
they're asking
problem.
people to cut, to vote against their own personal self-interest, and these are not people who are inclined to do so.
Right, 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 right. So yeah,
So,
I don't know. So yeah, you feel like Biden's probably got a good shot, huh?
um, no,
Yeah.
I, I've been trying to resign myself to the fact that I actually think Trump's going to win again.
My
Maybe,
biggest concern is that is the judges being appointed. But people get real worked up about that. but the way that it was set up, he did all the damage in his first term. McConnell wouldn't bring those judges to the floor when Obama was president. That's why there was a backlog of spaces that needed to be filled. Those spaces are all filled now. So when he gets a second term, he's not going to have the same effect that he did with his first term.
Well, but then we have to pray that Ginsburg can last another 4 years, because RGB is, I mean, she's hanging on by her fingernails right now.
Right. I literally have, this will disgust you, but it's disgusted me. I had people on my news feed that were like, produce a body. I want to see Ginsburg right now, because they were sure she was dead. And then there were other ones in my news feed that were like praying she would die. And I'm like, oh, you're a terrible, terrible person.
Well, it's. I don't know that she can handle it. One of my really good friends, he's a professor, a poli-sci professor, and the left kind of exalts Ginsburg, and she's like an action figure practically now.
Sure.
But he blames her because she was so convinced that Hillary was going to win that she wanted her seat filled by a woman president. And it's the only reason she didn't retire during like Barack's, if not his first term, the beginning of his second.
And that makes sense for her legacy, right? Because she was the woman that fought for women, right. I get it.
But because she was so convinced, and now I don't know if she's going to live for another 4 years. And if they get if McConnell, and they're not Trump's judges, they're McConnell's judges. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Sure.
They're going to have the court so stacked. Presidents come and go, but if you get the real Republicans' choice for another 1, 2, maybe 3 justices, you're talking 30, 40 years worth of irreparable damage. And I mean, that's what keeps me up at night.
Right. You were an attorney, so like you kept an eye on that thing more than I would have ever. It really blew my mind that they put Drunky McDrunkerton on the court. Like when a former conservative justice says this guy's not fit to be on the court because of that rant he went on about people being upset that the Clintons lost or whatever like that. Like, I was like, wow, we have gone from a place that the court was not supposed to be political.
No. It's supposed to be above it.
Right.
But that's the same thing. I mean, the Senate was supposed to be the deliberative body. You had a 6-year term so people could be a little more open and honest and take unpopular stands because they're not running for election every other year.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The representation, the Senate, that's a mess. You got there are so many things that are keeping the Republican Party in power just by structure, right? I mean, the Senate is crazy. You got Wyoming, who has 600,000 people in the entire state. They get 2 senators. California's got 45 million people in the entire state, and they get 2 senators. Mm-hmm. How is that?
The political embodiment of racist ideals of the Constitution.
Right. And then the Electoral College is almost as bad as far as the representation you get if you're in Idaho is insane compared to what you're getting in Illinois or, anywhere that there's liberal, educated people.
Even more than seeing Citizens United go, I would, if you had just a pure popular vote nationwide for president, which is unconstitutional, will never happen in your lifetime or mine, that would be the best thing that you could possibly do. I mean, in terms of actual representative democracy.
Sure. But you can't get that done also because one side knows that they're gaming the system. Like that they know that that's working for them. So they would never let that change. The one that, the one I talked to, when I talked to my Republican friends, they would vote for money to come out of politics. They don't like that idea either. And then what's the other one that they would go for? It's not the Electoral College. They know they've got that made. I mean, the gerrymandering and all that other stuff too is a whole nother conniption that goes on. But um, yeah, I don't know. We were working in the wrong direction most of the time because you're working in a direction that is like for voter ID and all this other stuff, which is really just a disguise in voter oppression. It's not
They're
like
dog whistles.
that. Right, right,
You know, it's like, oh, the Mexicans are, you know, they're walking 3,000 miles with a kid under each arm with $10 to come to a new country just to like vote for Hillary.
to vote.
It's they've thrown away their life. They've
Right,
like made this harrowing journey across
right,
continents just to come and commit voter fraud.
right, right.
People believe it.
No, makes zero sense. And the other thing is, like, if you were somebody like, I'm not a big fan of nationalism. I have this like metaphor or analogy for a friend of mine who's a big nationalist, right? He's always waving a flag, and I'm like, that stuff's. I'm glad that you're proud to be. I don't get it, to be honest with you. You were born here. You didn't do anything. You got nothing to be proud of. They just happened to you. But here's the analogy: nationalism and patriotism are two different things. And some people that are nationalists don't think this way. They think that they're the same. And I'm like, it's not. Nationalism is running around screaming at the top of your lungs that your house is the best house in the neighborhood. Patriotism is doing the work to make your house the best house in the neighborhood. Like, one is
I would agree. I would disagree. I would say patriotism is going and making sure that your block is the best block in the neighborhood. That
right. Well, if you're making sure your house is, then at least you're doing your part to bring the thing up. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Sort of a thing. Where nationalism, you're just running around jamming it down people's throats with no basis in anything. It's just nonsense.
Well,
Uh,
flag wavers are almost always hypocrites, and they're horrible. It's an we're all here by an like a we won the genetic or the birthing lottery because we were born in America at this period of time.
right,
It's an accident of birth. We didn't do anything. You're not demonstrably better than anyone else because your parents fucked in Chicago instead of
right,
Mexico City.
right. No. Right. It makes no sense.
It's
The other one that drives me nuts is that, you're not a human if you're not from America, which is crazy too. Like, I get people that are like, well, there's 9,000 deaths in this coronavirus. I'm like, no. There's like 65,000 deaths in this thing. Like, that's how many humans died. When something like this happens, you got to start thinking about, we're all in this together in the planet. You know what I mean? Like, you're
now
not
you sound
global.
like a globalist.
I know, no, New World Order guy or whatever the fuck. Hey, you know what? As a guy, like, I understood years ago that this free trade nonsense was bullshit. You can't have free trade with China and Mexico and Japan and all these countries and expect our blue collar workers to be able to compete with their blue collar workers. It doesn't work that way. But that's the way we did it. And then guys are upset that, their wages are stagnant. Like,
My last real lawyer gig. Have you ever heard of Johnson Controls?
yes.
So I was in charge of the real estate in one of their divisions,
Okay.
mostly the HVAC. So I would, you know, buy and sell factories, move factories, do leases, stuff like that. And it's actually the main reason I quit being a lawyer.
Okay.
So I it started Allentown, Pennsylvania, where Johnson was really the last big employer in town. And they decided they're closing up the factory. So I had to go, I went to Pennsylvania a couple times, just, selling wholesale, the real estate, certain amount of equipment, and the rest of the things they were putting on railroad cars and tracking them out. And the second part of it was, so I went and I killed like the half of, the little percentage of Allentown, Pennsylvania that was still working. We
Right.
killed them. And then, it was remarkable because it was the first time I ever got to fly the corporate jet. And so, we're building a new factory down in central Mexico. I don't even remember the name of the province or whatever. But, so we went and, Johnson has like a private airport in Milwaukee. They've got, all the, they've got dozens of jets. They
Sure.
would run a commuter jet from Milwaukee to South Haven, Michigan every morning. So, certain executives could live in Milwaukee, but it's crazy. And
Yeah.
you go to this private airfield. You don't do customs. You don't go through bag check. You go and you get on this jet. You fly down there. You land in Mexico. There's no customs. You land again in a private airstrip. You know, someone takes your bags. There's no customs. There's no anything.
Right.
You get in literally like bulletproof Suburbans, and you
Nice.
kind of ride through all the shit
Yep.
town. And then there was like probably it was like a DMZ, like probably half a mile, or it's very long, where there's nothing, absolute clear cut. And there was a fortress, huge. I mean, the probably, you know, square miles by square miles. And then they go and you get in there, and every single American company you can think of, Kraft, Ford, everyone, and we had one, and they all have these companies there. So then we built this factory there, and there's no worker safety, there's none of any of this stuff.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out, how it makes sense to close this, move it all, do all of this, and it was costing millions of dollars.
Right.
It was a perfectly functioning thing in there. And the answer was, it was like a 600% reduction in worker costs there.
600%.
Yeah.
600. That's nuts. Like, well, that's the thing, right? It's cheaper to grow the cotton here, ship it to China, have them make the shirts and ship it back than it is to make the shirt here. Like, it's insane. You went around the world to do this to avoid paying people a living wage. Like, it's the whole thing.
The fishing industry in New England, they they'll catch, the fish up, like, either in Nova Scotia, like, either off the coast in America, or sort of in that, they catch it there, fly it to China for
Right.
them to fillet it and process it and
Oh
freeze
my
it, to
gosh.
send it back for us to eat. So yeah, it's just a labor issue, but that's what we signed up for. That's where we're at. This is why
Right.
there's no middle class anymore.
I don't. I get, if I get in a conversation about that kind of stuff, I go as far as, I don't think that a billionaire should exist. And I'm not saying that you should like somehow take what they have or anything like that at this point, right? They do exist. I think that they should be on such a progressive tax plan that it's almost impossible for them to exist, right? Because people don't, math is a real big problem in this country. Math is a real, there's a struggle for people to understand what math is. Like, have you seen any of those, like, they're online, they're a visual representation of what like a million is versus a billion versus a trillion. It's insane. It's like this little tiny cube is a million, and then they go to a billion and it's like a fucking car, size thing, and then they go to a trillion and it's like fucking 1,000 of those goddamn cars. So for
There was a meme going around, and I'm sure you saw it too, about billionaires don't get to exist anymore. Do whatever you want. $999,999,999.99. You tax 100%. Anything above that, you get a T-shirt that says "I won capitalism." We name a dog park after you, and you
right.
go with that.
Well, listen, I mean, okay, no matter what, they're going to try to do that, which I want them to try. Keep trying, that's fine. But if I tax you in such a progressive way that by the time you get to that upper echelon, right, you're losing most of it. I would like to see them, like, anything over, $100 million in a year. You're only keeping $1 million. I'm telling you, there will be a motherfucker out there that'll still be trying to be a billionaire, even though 99% of it he's not keeping. But I don't care. And I can justify all of that by looking at people like Bezos and say, or the Waltons, or all these people who employ people. You're making money because the public school system taught your employees how to read, write, and do math, but you don't want to pay anything into that system. Like, that makes no sense to me. When I drive on the highway, I'm driving my Subaru on the highway, I'm not putting potholes on the highway. But the 10,000 semi trucks that are out there for Walmart, for Amazon, they are. You should be taxed at a higher rate. You should pay for more of this stuff because you're getting advantage from all this stuff. So, like, it's not even being unfair. It's just saying that if you, I don't have a desire to be a billionaire. I don't. I'm positive, 100% positive. Like, I won't buy a lottery ticket unless it's like, $500 million or some ludicrous fucking thing, right? And then I'll spend the $2 because I'm getting gas. Fine, give me that. I'm 100% sure. There is not a doubt in my mind. I would do everything I could to give away most all of that money to some real cause that somebody was going to be helped. I would have enough where I never had to worry about money again. But we're talking about, I'm almost 50 years old. If I have $3 million, I never have to worry about money again.
Yeah.
So like, that's all I need out of what was the one lottery? It was almost $1 billion. Some fucking one person would have won. I would give away all of that money. I would find a way. So that's like when Bloomberg was running. This guy is worth $68 billion running for president that he's going to fix things. You have $68 billion. You could have fixed things already. You didn't have to be president with $68 billion. You could just fix things.
Well, running for president seems to be the new vanity project for billionaires.
Yes. It's like, I've got all of this. What else can I get?
Well, when he spent what, 300 some odd million for a 6-week presidential bid.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to.
People didn't understand how he could afford to do that. Like you said, what, he was worth $68 billion. That's like, that's like if you or I said, you know what, here's $100, I'm going to run for president.
Yep. It ain't even that. It ain't even $100. That is literally the interest. They said that he could spend $2 billion a year, even in the off years that weren't presidential years, running for president, and still never spend any of the actual $68 billion.
Never touched the capital, huh?
Just right. That, and he was, his big claim was that he was going to keep spending that money once he was gone, which, there's no chance he's doing that.
He said, yeah, my money's running for president all the way.
Right. I don't know. I thought that was so gross that he was trying to buy it.
Well, at least he was honest about it.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, I just don't have any. The governor thing in Illinois, I was like, are you shitting me? We have Rauner as a billionaire, and I'm going to trade him for Pritzker as a billionaire. Anyone that's got $1 billion has shown a level of greed and selfishness that how do you be public servant then?
Well, the difference, Pritzker inherited his, and Rauner made his.
Right, which makes Rauner a better guy than Pritzker to me.
In a way, but on the other hand, Pritzker was born into, he didn't have to do that.
Sure.
Maybe vanity, but you know what? Especially in the latest circumstances, I'm kind of impressed with the guy. I mean, he's definitely better than Rauner.
Well.
I mean, a wet shit would be better than Rauner was.
Right. Well, and Rauner, you still have to get somebody that can get something done, and Rauner couldn't get anything done because the Democratic Congress that was in the state wasn't going to work with them anyway.
Yeah, and so, for that,
right. So
I'll be eternally grateful for that. I just don't know. Oh.
Well, we'll wrap it up, man. We're like 2.5 hours in, so I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully,
I don't know how you're going to edit any of this to make any logical sense, but that's your problem, not mine.
Nah, just throw it out there. I don't like to edit my podcast. I don't edit most of them because I don't want anyone to ever think that I was changing it to angle a certain way or take out something I didn't like. And you know what? It's surprising. I was making a joke that, all of the talk shows, it's surprising to me how not funny some of the talk show hosts are when there's no laugh track or no crowd laughing when they're supposed to. And then the other thing is that it's just if it's a conversation I'm having, my viewership's actually pretty good. Like, I'm surprised by it. And I don't even do the thing where I'm like, hey, please subscribe. And I would like people to subscribe, no doubt. it's not monetized right now. I need 1,000 subscribers to do that, and I'm only at like 230 or something like that. But I think I had, what the hell did I have? I had some like 25 hours of viewing. Not me. I don't even watch my own podcast. Last month, like 25 hours, people watched the podcast on YouTube, and I
Okay.
get like a pretty good amount of downloads when I do the audio version also. So, I don't know. Seems to work out all right. I do it for the conversations.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you for
Right.
having me. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
I
it.
appreciate you being there. And, I always encourage anybody to, by all means, comment below if you disagree, comment. And I want someone to come on the podcast, and I like a back and forth where we disagree. I really do. I'm fine with that. I mean, I get,
You should moderate between, a hard left and a hard right. I think you.
well, what I'd like to do is just fact check between the two. Because I could give two shits about who's like left or right. I just want you to be factual with what you're saying.
That's asking a lot these days.
It's asking everything these days for sure. But hey man, have a nice night.
All
Tell
right,
uh tell your wife I said hey.
I will, and I will talk to you soon. Go Sox.
Yep, take care.
Right.